Singatla. Welcome to Skungwai. My name is David Dixon. I've been a Haida Gwaii watchman for 16 years. Our job here is to give guided tours and to tell you about what went on back in the day, to watch over this place. This is one of the main villages on Haida Gwaii. This village is over thousands of years old. The poles you do see here are hundreds of years old, built after contact. It was recognized in 1980 as a World Heritage Site. And after that, the Watchman program started, and so that's why we're here. Oh my gosh, you imagine living here back in the day. Everybody would have had everything they needed in this village. There would have been 17 houses. Imagine 25 to 30 people a house. Imagine everybody milling about, getting the fish ready for smoking salmon, canoes, all up on the beaches. The daily life would have been awesome. I got goosebumps, sorry. When you walk ashore, you'll see all the old totems, all the old mortuary poles.
Once we get up in the air, you have a look back.
These are mortuary poles that weren't disturbed because they're grave sites. It's all graves. So that's all you'll see, the remains of this village.
It was a great privilege to be here. I was particularly struck by the stillness and the quiet of the whole place. And it was just a wonderful experience.
I'm still in awe at this place. The amount of work that went into building this village alone. And how secluded this place is too. And the people living here, how hardy they had to be to live here. How strong our culture was, and how we are starting to come back again. And how beautiful the artwork is. To share it with people from all over the place, all over the world, is amazing.
Well, these mortuary poles are really inspiring, and I love that they tell a story and that it's related to their clan. So this creativity and tying that in with mythology. So it feels like a holy place just to walk here.
The first time I got to come to Skungwai was about 20 years ago when my children were just babies. It was a heart's desire, a lifelong dream that I just wanted to see so bad. You hear stories of the people that got to come down here, and it is a very long ways to come. And I know so many of my fellow Haidas that never had a chance to come down here. So it's been a real blessing to get to come here as a Haida person and enjoy the village and the islands, and also to come as a Haida Gwaii watchman and work. In 1981, UNESCO designated this as a World Heritage Site, recognizing it as the most intact Aboriginal village left in British Columbia. I felt very honored to know that the world is noticing not only how delicate culture can be, but they realize the importance of saving it and helping us preserve it by designating it as a World UNESCO Heritage Site.
So today we are on our third day of our trip. We arrived in Haines this morning, and we've had a chance to come up to the Klukkawan Cultural Center. This is a place home to the Tlingit people, and we are very privileged to learn much about their culture.
We were lucky to have elders that were still alive to be able to teach us some of these things that you saw here today. And so we were happy to share that with you, because if we don't practice it, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Authenticity is just the word I continue to think of, just to see what the culture has been like, and what they were able to bring to the forefront and experience with the song and dance, and Jack was just tremendous.
We understand that there's nothing we can do about what's behind us. All that's left for us is what's in front of us, and we got to make the best of it. And that's what's going to keep our culture alive.
I'm standing high above the fjord at Kilakitsok, in Greenland, and it's here in these two holes, these two tombs, that two hunters found mummified remains of 6 women and 2 young children. Sadly, one of the younger ones, the 2-year-old, suffered probably from Down syndrome. He was dead at the time of burial, and then there was a young baby wrapped up in its mother's arms. There were no women left in the clan to feed him, so he was buried with his mother. Archaeologists have been able to date the remains of the mummies to the year 1475, roughly around that period of time. So they were Thule, it was a Thule family that was buried here. Throughout this bay, just off the beach, we found another 6 tomb graves there with human remains in them. There's also 2 Thule houses down there. So clearly, as we walk through up this countryside, there are more graves, and this must have been a very sacred spot for the Greenland Thule. So this has obviously been a sacred area.
I think the most incredible thing about being in Greenland, or to be in Arctic Canada, or to be anywhere throughout the polar north, is to realize that you're moving through a single civilization, not just a common adaptation, not simply a common set of challenges with the complexities and vicissitudes of the climate, but we know there were clearly a series of waves that came across the north of North America, and virtually every Inuit person, whether we call them Polar Eskimo and Greenlander in Greenland, or whether we call them Inuit people, that whole civilization all descended from the Thule people. And the language is one and the same, with many dialects, but essentially one and the same, and certainly spoken from the same heart.
This area in Battle Harbour was first settled in the 1700s, around 1770s. There's a company came across from England called John Slade and Pools. The reason they established here because the abundance of the codfish, and the people never had very far to row to the fishing grounds because they never had no motors and nothing to run their boats and nothing like that. Over the years when you're fishing, when I was fishing with my father, you could see it declining every year. When it's dropping and dropping and dropping. Every year it's getting worse. And eventually they had to close it.
What year did they close?
1992. And it was quite hard for the fishermen because that was their way of life. That's all they ever done.
When Lindblad goes to some of the more remote places, it first of all brings a group of intelligent, interested people to these places to engage with the people and learn about them, learn about their issues, learn about what's important to them.
When I was growing up, like when I was in school, they used to take me out of school a month earlier to come out here. I loved it.
You know, we create relationships with these communities that I hope will be beneficial to them, and not just economically, but also in the sense of creating an awareness of them, what they're about and what their challenges are among a group of people who are very engaged in the world and really care about these things.
This particular area of the Pacific Northwest coast is not only famous for its natural beauty, but it is very rich culturally. This afternoon, the National Geographic Seabird docked in the community of Alert Bay on Cormorant Island, and we are spending the afternoon as guests of the Nimkish band of the Kwakwaka'wakw people. Our first stop is the Umista Cultural Center, which for a lot of the people in the community is often called the Box of Treasures. It houses old regalia, potlatch regalia, new regalia, masks, weavings, and all kinds of historical information about the life of the Kwakwaka'wakw people. From the Umista Cultural Center, we'll make a short walk up to the traditional big house of Alert Bay. It's a belief amongst the Northwest Coast people that kids are our greatest resource, so they start at a very young age learning the potlatch tradition of their people. And what we'll see in the big house are the dances they are learning and perfecting, and this is for our guests a very exclusive and private presentation about the cultural life of the Nimkish people.